Howdy, this is the Views from the Shop podcast. I'm your host, your one and only host, Tim Miller, and today it is still Saturday, December 13th, 2025, and I'm very happy International Shareware Day. On today's show, we are live recapping Ohio State's double overtime victory over West Virginia on Saturday night in Cleveland. If you're watching live right now, you see a snowman behind me, and probably you see me in a place you've never seen me before. That's because I'm currently down in my dungeon of a basement where the Wi-Fi router is located. So I'm hoping that because we're going live, our connection's a little better than being all the way upstairs and you can hear me. So we're crossing our fingers for that one. But after that performance, I just felt like we had to go live at some point, right? So here I am sitting on my floor in the basement because we got to talk Ohio State hoops. Whom else is doing this right now? I don't know who else is sitting in their floor of their basement. Anyone could. Not everyone does, though, except for a guy like me. So if you're new here, please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe on YouTube as well. Highly recommend you do that. And then subscribe on the Substack, Views from the Shop podcast.substack.com. If you go there, you can get access to a bunch of free content, and you can even join the chat for some insider info, the Ohio State basketball Substack there. The chat, I'll give you a free week trial if you'd like to check it out. Happy to do that as well. But today we cover Ohio State's win over West Virginia. Thanks for being here. I know it's super late, so if you're here live, please like the tweet where you find this video. I know most people are watching this on Twitter. If you're watching on YouTube, please like that video as well. Ohio State wins this game 89-88 over West Virginia. It was up and down, topsy-turvy for, well, the final 20-ish minutes of this game. And Ohio State comes out on top. I think if you want a real-world example of what Ohio State needed in this game, just take this back. I don't know how old you are, but take it back 20, 30, 50 years, whatever your age may be. And imagine you were 6, 7, maybe 8 years old at your local grocery store, and you're there with mama, and mama's shopping for something, and you are not paying attention to anything in the world. And all of a sudden, you look up, mama's gone. Mama's nowhere to be found. Mama has left the aisle, and we are now in fight or flight mode. We've got to find mom, and we've got to find her quickly. There's no safety here. There's no comfort here. We are in trouble. We could be abducted or worse. And you turn the aisle, and you're looking for mom frantically. The aisles are packed in, man. There's shopping carts everywhere. They're at eye level. This isn't going well. And you look up, and that's not mom. You almost say mom, but you don't. And then you see from afar that familiar face, the familiar entity that is mama. And you run up to mama, and mama's got you. You're safe. You're warm. You're comforted. You're not getting kidnapped. Not today, at least. You are not. And that's what Ohio State needed from Bruce Thornton in this game. They needed Bruce Thornton to be mama. Let me elaborate. As you go into this game, you're fresh off a loss against Illinois. You beat Northwestern, and you beat them on the road, and that's great and all. And you have the loss to Pitt. You have the win over Notre Dame by 1 point at home. Not sure that you've really had anything to write home about so far this season for Ohio State basketball when it comes to the resume. And as you go into this game, you know it's going to be highly physical. You know West Virginia's not going to let you play your style. It's going to be uncomfortable. At times, it's going to be ugly. And at times, you're going to feel like you're out there on your own, as if mama's gone. And we needed Bruce Thornton to step into this game and to protect, at times, the Christoph Tillys of the world. and the Gabe Cups of the world, and even the Taysom Chapmans of the world who got 6 minutes in this game, and to take them all in and say, Mama's got you. Mama's going to take good care of you, all right? What do you want from this? You want some chips? You want some cookies? You want a snack? You tell me. You're going to be taken care of. And at the end of the day, we're going to load you up in the car with all our groceries. You're going to be nourished. You're going to be well fed. You're going to be protected. You're going to be safe. That's what Ohio State needed from Bruce Thornton in this game. And although it took a while, they got it from Bruce Thornton. Bruce Thornton plays hero ball in this game. And this is a situation where, by the way, Bruce Thornton in clutch time in his career at Ohio State has not been good. He's not been productive. At times, he's been very bad. And the reasons that Ohio State has lost close games, and now you look at this game, where at the end of the day, Ohio State wins the game by 1 point, and they would not have won this game without what Bruce Thornton did in the overtime period, and in large part what he did in the second half of this game as well. So that's what we get, is we get Bruce Thornton playing the mother and rallying the troops and leading the way for Ohio State. The other major takeaway from this game is never tweet. Just never tweet. I said this after the Northwestern win. Stop tweeting. Just don't do it anymore. There's a well-known Ohio State Twitter account that I feud with from time to time and commented on his post. Tonight, he tweeted at some point during the game. I don't even remember what he said. And I just commented back. Game's over. Ohio State won this game, by the way. Just shoot it. Shoot a quick tweet out. Let the folks know that even though there's a lot of Jake Diebler slander and Ohio State slander, which I will touch on in this show, even though there is that, Ohio State still won the game. Ohio State trailed by 16 points in this game, and yet the Buckeyes come out on top. If you're in the Substack, one of my favorite parts about the Substack on the chat feature is that, look, you pay a price. It's not that hefty of a price, but it's a price. And what it allows you to do is stay off Twitter and be on the Substack and talk with other Ohio State fans who want this team to be good just as bad as you do, but aren't feral like everyone else on Twitter. It's a breath of fresh air, but even some folks in there, and maybe even me, maybe even I said, you know what? This is not going well. This is very frustrating. This is shades of the past couple years of Ohio State basketball. And I got there, but I never tweeted it. I never went out on a public forum and said, it's over for Ohio State. Quite frankly, it's over. Jake Diebler, he's got to be gone. Ohio State's going to lose to West Virginia. This is awful. And this is, again, it's gut check time for you. Do you have tweets to delete? You might. And if you do have tweets to delete, look, I won't search them up for you, but at some point, someone's going to have to search those tweets out for you. So be advised, we got some tweets to delete in this game for sure. Just never, ever, ever tweet. So key stats in this game, we'll do what we always do on the post-game show. On the recap show, we get into key stats. We'll talk about the keys of the game I had for Ohio State, and then some major takeaways and reaction, including how good is this Ohio State team? You might not, I think you won't get the answer that you may expect if you know this show and you know me. So, key stats in this game. The number one stat that led to Ohio State winning this game, they made 32 field goals in this game. West Virginia made 25. Now, West Virginia stayed afloat, especially late. Honor Huff making a bunch of three-pointers. I talked about this not only in the pregame article, but also in the show that I joined with Mountaineer Paul on Lockdown West Virginia. That was posted on podcasts as well that you could listen to today. Talked about Honor Huff. He's one of the best three-point shooters in the nation. In terms of production, he's number one. He kept West Virginia in this game, while Ohio State was 4 of 21 from the three-point line in this game. Ohio State made just 9 field goals in the first half. 9 field goals in 20 minutes of play, not winning basketball. Now, that means that Ohio State had to make 23 field goals in the second half and in overtime. Obviously, that number is a lot better. And those 23 made field goals for Ohio State. How about that? You know, a funny thing about likes going to private on Twitter, there are, I'm just gonna let you know, there are some people, maybe even players, there might even be players on this Ohio State team that's bussing back to Columbus right now. And although they don't follow the Views from the Shop podcast on Twitter, they'll check out the timeline after games and they might like some tweets. And that may have just happened there. So sorry, that threw me off a little bit. But Ohio State makes 9 field goals in the first half. They make 23 field goals in the second half and overtime combined, which is just 2 less than West Virginia made in the entire game. Bruce Thornton was big. Amari Bynum, for a long stretch of this game, was huge for Ohio State, especially in the second half, keeping Ohio State afloat. But if you want to look at the key stat that allowed Ohio State to win it in this game, it was the field goals that they made in this one. Bruce Thornton. You can't get far enough in the show before you talk about Bruce Thornton. 21 points in this game, 8 of 19 from the field. Not the most efficient game for Bruce Thornton, but he has 4 assists, 4 rebounds, and oh, by the way, Bruce Thornton played 49 minutes in this game. I don't know the 1 minute he came out for, and this could also be ESPN just hasn't. Sometimes the stats that get finalized are different from the stats that are actually there. I'm seeing 49 minutes for Bruce Thornton. I don't really remember him exiting this game, but Bruce Thornton did all of this playing 49 minutes. This continues to be a player that just plays and plays and plays. He's like the Energizer Bunny. You can take the batteries out of Bruce Thornton. I don't know where they're located. I'm not one to find out, but wherever those may be located, you can take them out. He's probably got some kind of underlying power that he can use to his advantage and still continue to produce. 49 minutes in this game, scoring 21 points. He makes 7 field goals in the second half in overtime. 4 of the 7 field goals Ohio State made in overtime came from Bruce Thornton, and of course the game-winning shot for Ohio State. Bruce Thornton was absolutely fantastic when it mattered most for Ohio State. He's the MVP of this game for Ohio State. Probably the MVP of any team this season, because I think you look at what you would lose if Ohio State didn't have Bruce Thornton compared to other really good players like Braden Smith at Purdue, for example. These other teams have a lot of help, whereas Ohio State doesn't have that without Bruce Thornton. Highly, highly valuable. He was huge for Ohio State in this one. Ohio State scored 48 paint points in this game. As a reminder, West Virginia, they never allow paint points. They hadn't given up more than 36 paint points so far this season. They came into the game allowing 23.5 paint points per game. West Virginia, the number 1 scoring defense in the nation coming into today, and they do that in a lot of ways just through strong, traditional pack line defense. You might be able to hit some threes on us, but you are not going into the paint and scoring on us, and yet that's what Ohio State did. And not only that, but in overtime, Ohio State, all of the field goals that it made, all of those field goals came from the paint for the Buckeyes. So Ohio State took over the paint for a large portion of this game, 48 points. That's over half of their points being scored in the paint against one of the best paint defenses in the nation so far this season. On the other end, by the way, West Virginia, they scored just 22 paint points in this game. That's tied for the worst all season that West Virginia has scored. So Ohio State huge in the paint offensively and defensively in this win. Another key stat that no one is probably going to talk about other than me. John Mobley Jr., 6 of 6 from the free throw line in this one. If you listen to the show at all, you know John Mobley Jr. had missed 7 of his past 10 attempts from the free throw line. He wasn't just perfect tonight. It wasn't a 2-for-2 performance and non-consequential free throws that he made. He goes 6 of 6. A lot of those very important for Ohio State. The Buckeyes win by 1. So even if he goes 5 of 6, which would be very good, even for John Mobley Jr., you absolutely take that. Even if he goes 5 of 6, Ohio State could still be playing in a 5th overtime right now. So he was huge for Ohio State. Doesn't seem like a huge stat, but those free throws, even with the bad moments that John Mobley Jr. had, which I think at this point, at least for this season, we're going to have to deal with some more bad moments from John Mobley Jr. That's just how it is. Defensively and offensively, he had a bad turnover late in this game. Regardless, he's perfect from the free throw line. That was a huge lift for Ohio State. Last key stat, Ohio State's largest lead was 3 points. This was a gutsy win for Ohio State. We've seen them come back from large deficits under Jake Diebler. There's been a lot of instances where that's happened. I think the one I think of would be Purdue and the win that they had over Ohio State had over Purdue last year. I don't remember how large of a deficit they got to, and it may be the complete wrong game that I'm thinking of. It was a year ago, folks, and I do this show after every single game. So, these games run together at times, but there have been games where Ohio State has come back and they haven't been able to finish. They haven't been able to win, and they were able to finish and win in this game, even in double overtime, even in 50 minutes played, even when you only led by 3 points. The clutch factor in this game for Ohio State, absolutely phenomenal for the Buckeyes. So a big win here picked up by Ohio State. I know we've got a lot of people watching right now live. Please like the tweet. If you're on Twitter, like the tweet where this video is. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe there and like the video on YouTube as well. This is the only Ohio State basketball exclusive podcast covering every single game. We preview every game. We recap every game all year long. Throughout the offseason, we have a bunch of players and coaches and media members and all those types of things on the show. So highly recommend you subscribe. And while you're at it, while you're watching, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Appreciate you being here and watching along here live as we get close to midnight. But the grind doesn't stop. So keys to the game in this one. I said this in the preview show, which a lot of people probably didn't get a chance to see. Granted, I went live with Mountaineer Paul from Locked On West Virginia. Went live with him yesterday, Friday morning. That would be about 11 o'clock. And if you had the chance to watch that, then you heard my keys to the game. I put it in the Substack article as well. But if you missed this, I'll tell you the 2 keys to the game that I had for Ohio State. Number 1, it was follow the leader. That means let Bruce Thornton carry you. And number 2, it was take pride in physicality, which isn't really one that you can quantify, but it was one I had anyway. So number 1 was follow the leader. Let Bruce Thornton carry you. And this is at the start of the show. I gave the analogy of losing your mom in the grocery store, how much you need that presence of Bruce Thornton in this game. And you didn't get it early. Bruce Thornton was really bad in the first half of this game. I think he was 1 of 8 from the field in this game. And Ohio State goes into halftime down by 9, 10, 11 points, something like that. And fans really upset. I'm discouraged. I think we're all discouraged at this point. I texted someone else after this game who said, I just said, what were your feelings throughout this game? They said, angry, worried, positive, sick, happy. It was just that kind of game for Ohio State. And I've actually just, in light of the win, I know people are fired up. So I'm texting a lot of people about this one. And some reactions are very fun within people around the program, I'll say. But regardless, this was a game where Bruce Thornton didn't get it going at all in the first half, and you're waiting and waiting and waiting. And in the Substack, in the chat, we were wondering, when halftime ends and the second half begins, do you look to Bruce Thornton? John Mobley Jr., he had 8 points to start the first half, didn't score after I think his 8 points came when Ohio State had 14 points, I want to say, in the first half. So the question is, do you try to get him going? Amari Bynum gave you some good minutes. Do you look to him? What do you do offensively if you're Ohio State heading into the second half? And what you got was Bruce Thornton absolutely lighting it up when it mattered the most. Heading into the final stretch there in the second half, of course, you had John Mobley Jr., who allowed you to get to overtime with his 3-pointer that I think is still on its way down at this point. But a beautiful shot from John Mobley Jr. Bruce Thornton was the motor. He was the engine for Ohio State in this one. So when you talk about following the leader, I think Ohio State absolutely do that. And by the way, Bruce Thornton, he had to will his way into the paint. We knew exactly what he wanted to do. There was no question in the overtime period that Bruce Thornton was going to work and work and work his way into the paint. And West Virginia fouled and fouled and fouled Bruce Thornton at times. And Thornton didn't care. He goes 4 or 5 from the free throw line, by the way, of 8 of 19. Not the most efficient game for Thornton, but it's a good game nonetheless for Bruce Thornton, and Ohio State did follow the leader. take pride in physicality. Again, I don't know how to quantify this, but just given how West Virginia wants to play basketball, just like Pitt, and in a somewhat similar level, just like Notre Dame and Illinois, for example, IU Indy, another kind of style, I would say. Obviously, there's a lot of varying levels of talent between all those teams and style. And IU Indy, they want to press. They want to be physical in that way. It's different than how West Virginia wants to be physical. But West Virginia wanted to turn this game into an absolute slop fest. And that meant Ohio State needed just to toe the line and accept it. I know that Ohio State, they wanted to get up early in this one. They wanted the offense to lead the way. And kind of like in football, where if you play a team that's really good running the ball, but they can't throw it, if you get up 14-0 at the end of the first quarter, and that offense that can't throw the ball, but they're down by 14, so they have to. If you dictate that type of tempo and that game style, you're going to be in a good spot. That's what Ohio State wanted to do in this one, I think. And quite frankly, they didn't. They did not do that whatsoever. While Ohio State really paced West Virginia in field goals made, West Virginia had some offensive rebounds in this game that were so frustrating to watch. And yet, when you look at the physicality part of things, I think pressing was a part of that for Ohio State. Royal got after it on the boards. Tilly came away with some tough rebounds as well. So I can't quantify that, but check it off. Ohio State won the game at the end, so you check it off. All right, major takeaways in this one. I've got 5 of them, and then we are going the heck to bed. How about the snow, by the way? How about you type in the chat how many inches of snow you've gotten today? And if you're my friend in South Africa, is it hot there? I'm an Ohio State basketball guy, okay? I'm not into the northern and southern hemispheres and the weather, so I wouldn't know. Takeaways in this game, reactions, things like that. Let's get into it. Number 1, this game really could have felt like last year for so many different reasons. And there's a lot of fans out there who, even after this win, are not happy. There's a lot of fans out there who would say, typical Jake Diebler coach team, they're not good enough. West Virginia sucks. And Ohio State never should have been close. It never should have gone to overtime. Well, friend, the fact of the matter is that Ohio State was only a 3.5-point favorite in this game. It was expected to be close, and you can still disagree. And you can say that, Ohio State should be the better team. They should have been favored by more points. This game should have been close if they had a better coach, whatever. It doesn't matter. Quite frankly, it doesn't matter. So I don't know why we still keep talking about it. But regardless, at this point, you come to this game as a 3.5-point favorite, and you look at how offensively things didn't look great. Spacing, ball movement, it didn't feel crisp. It didn't feel natural. It didn't feel like where Ohio State had been really, really good this year at times. It didn't feel like that. You get down by 16 at one point. The amount of punches that you're trading last year, just go back 1 year ago and think about all the games where Ohio State had to trade punch for punch, blow for blow, shot for shot. And before long, it would just be too much, and Ohio State would crumble down the stretch. With 2 minutes left in the game, with 1 minute left in the game, you think of the home game against Oregon last year. You think of the Indiana game at home last year. I think those might have even been back-to-back. But there were several games like that where Ohio State could not finish, and Ohio State had every opportunity to fall into that trap again. They had every opportunity to be the Pitt game of this year, or the Pitt game of last year, or the Oregon game of last year, where when it comes down to it, the final shot that needs to be made by one side is made by the bad guys. And in this game, it wasn't. In this game, it was Bruce Thornton finishing off West Virginia, and then Ohio State getting a stop defensively where Colin White grabs the ball and then just flings it up into the air, which is probably the smartest thing you can do at that point. Just send that ball into the third section, the third level of the queue. If there is a third level, never been, wouldn't know. Ohio State's been, and they've won. But this was an opportunity for Ohio State to prove that they are going to take a step in close games from last year to this year. And now look, they have the loss against Pitt, but they've got the win against Notre Dame by 1 point, and now they have the win against West Virginia by 1 point. So Ohio State had a chance to look like they were last year, which would not be a good thing, and yet they pick up the win. Another takeaway in this game. I know we all want to talk about Amari Bynum. I have remained on the side of keep starting Brandon Knoll, let Amari Bynum come off the bench. If you want my reasoning for that, you can go listen to just about any episode over the past 2 weeks, and you'll get my opinion on that. But it may finally be time to get Amari Bynum in the lineup. He was the most consistent player throughout the game, a game in which you did not have good minutes or good stretches from Bruce Thornton, Devin Royal playing with 4 fouls for most of the game. And by most of the game, I mean, you played 50 minutes. He picked up his 4th foul, I think, with 17 or 15 minutes left to go in the second half. So we basically played half this game with 4 fouls. So you look at Mobley, you look at Thornton, you look at Devin Royal, you look at Christoph Tilly. I mean, guys just were not stepping up in this one. And if it wasn't for Amari Bynum, Ohio State loses this game. He was the most consistent throughout the game, 17 points, 8 rebounds off the bench. He had 3 blocks as well for Ohio State in this game. Defensively, he was really good. And then you look on the flip side, you look at Brandon Knoll. He plays just 19 minutes of a 50-minute game, goes 2 of 7 from the field, have a couple of minutes misses early on shots that you probably would say he should have made. Rather non-existent outside of a couple of made shots in this game for Ohio State. You look at the rebounding production for him. He had 1 rebound in this game. That's it. And now I see we've adjusted to 20 minutes. So, like I said, the ESPN stats, they update every once in a while. I guess he played 20 minutes, not 19, but the point still remains. It may be time to get Amari Bynum in the starting lineup. Again, I've maintained here on this show that I think it's possible. It may not be imminent for Amari Bynum to now start at the 4 and over Brandon Knoll, but man, you just keep stacking these games and you really have to wonder. Another takeaway I have in this game. Sometimes pressing does things that we cannot see. So I was critical internally of Ohio State's press in the second half of this game. My kind of 2 philosophies for pressing, or I guess there's 3. One is we need to force turnovers. That's IU Indy's philosophy when they pressed Ohio State. We want to force turnovers. We want to make you super uncomfortable. We want to speed you up, and we want to create some steals and create some easy buckets for us in transition with numbers advantages. That's one option. Your other option is we just want to slow you down. Let's say West Virginia is playing Alabama, who last I saw was getting smoked by Arizona. That game may have changed. Obviously, I'm live, so I don't know. But you have a game where 2 really contrasting styles of play, and West Virginia wants to slow this game down and limit possessions because they know they're better defensively than they are offensively, so they want to limit possessions and win those defensive possessions. That makes sense. So you'll press. Why? So you can slow the game down. That doesn't apply here against West Virginia, I don't think, because West Virginia already wanted to play slow. And the third option for pressing, which is kind of the same as the first, is maybe you're not looking to force turnovers, but you're looking to speed up the offense and force them into bad shots. I don't think that was really an option for Ohio State against West Virginia in this one. But as it turns out, it kind of seems, I don't know, maybe it's a coincidence, maybe it's not. When Ohio State started to really get back into this game and really have some energy and really get into a groove, it was when they started pressing. And I didn't understand it, but I think you have to look back at what was the turning point, what was the tipping point in this game, and it makes sense. When Ohio State did start to press, when they did put the pressure on, when they did turn it up a little bit on West Virginia, that's when Ohio State got into this game. That's when they got energized. That's when John Mobley Jr. is screaming. His eyes are about to pop out of his head as they head into a timeout. That's when Ohio State really got some energy in this game. So there are reasons to press. I think that was the reason for Ohio State in this one, and that's part of the reason why they come out with the victory. All right. Last takeaway is not positive, so I apologize. But I'm sure there's a lot of fans watching right now, especially there's a lot of fans who will watch live and don't know a lot about the show, but they'll just see that it's on and they'll say, all right, I guess I'll tune in and see what this guy's talking about. And you got a lot of Diebler detractors and people who aren't so happy with Ohio State basketball right now. And I get that. I'm going to be on your side at this point. And I'm going to say this again, you know me, you know I'm measured, you know I'm slow to react, you know I'm radical, you know I'm not emotional, but at this point we've got enough data to say this. And I'm going to give my take. And here's the thing. I know that there are people who are around-ish the program. There's parents who listen to the show of players, and maybe this way makes its way back into the shot and it serves as some motivation for them. I'll say it right now. I don't think Ohio State is an NCAA tournament team. I hate to drop that bomb after an insane double overtime win, and maybe I should have stopped the show now and then came back with another show tomorrow and said, you know what, guys, I don't think Ohio State's an NCAA tournament team, but I'm going to do it now anyway. Look at the sample size we have right now for Ohio State. So they beat Notre Dame by 1 point. Christoph Tilley needed to make a layup at the near buzzer to beat Notre Dame, who's right now 69th in the net, and they have not done anything impressive so far this season. They lost to Pitt at the buzzer. Pitt is 163rd in net right now with losses to Hofstra, someone named Quinnipiac, and UCF. UCF is not a good basketball program. Those are 3 losses for Pitt. And Ohio State lost to Pitt. It took 2 overtimes to beat a West Virginia team who's on the exact same level as Notre Dame. They slid past Northwestern on the road, whose best win is South Carolina. Shout out the Johnsons. And they were also handled by Illinois for 40 minutes. Yeah, Ohio State, they made it tight in 2 separate occasions against that game against Illinois. But I don't think Illinois fans ever said, we're out of this. We're not winning this game. Ohio State's going to win this game. I don't think anyone would say that. So we've got enough sample size right now, as far as Ohio State has made it 10 games through the season, about a third of the way through the season, against the real competition they played. They've taken care of the bad competition. Mount St. Mary's, Appalachian State, they've thrown them to the side. But in real games that they played this year, I don't think that they've really been all that impressive, or at least impressive enough to say, yeah, I think this team is going to the NCAA tournament. So I predicted this team to go to the NCAA tournament. I predicted them to be pretty firmly in the tournament as well, and a contender in the Big Ten. What I will say, and that's a good point by someone in the comments, West Virginia did get dog-walked by Pitt, by the way, who Ohio State lost to. But as you look at where Ohio State has gone in 10 games right now, and you look at you take out the IU Indies of the world, and you take out the Western Michigans of the world, where you're supposed to win by 30 because you've got a bunch of athletes who are among the best in the world, and these other guys are happy to be playing D1 at times. If you take out those games and you look at the biggest games Ohio State has played this season, I really don't think it's that impressive. And the net would say so. Ken Pom and Bart Torvik would also have Ohio State as a fringe bubble team right now. Ken Pom has Ohio State technically out of the field. Bart Torvik has been higher on Ohio State this entire season. Ohio State right now is 31st. So that puts them right on the fringe of being a bubble team as well. So all that in mind, I think the data points that we have right now do not lead us to say Ohio State is an NCAA tournament team. Yeah, this win is super exciting. It's nothing to write home about. West Virginia is not a good basketball team. I said it after the Pitt game, and I probably said it on the preview show as well. Pitt is not a good basketball team. Notre Dame is not an impressive basketball team, but the skill level, the talent level that West Virginia and Pitt possess especially, it is absolutely not impressive whatsoever. And in the one game Ohio State did have against a real NCAA tournament team, it was close. I gave the example of the big brother extending his arm out and pressing his palm against a little brother who's 3 years younger and a little bit smaller, pressing that palm against his forehead, and he can fight and he can throw his arms at you and he's not going to be able to touch you. That's how it felt in the Illinois against Ohio State game. It just felt like big brother, 5 big brothers against 5 little brothers. That's how that game felt. So as you look at what Ohio State has done right now, I don't think that this looks like an NCAA tournament team. Now, does that mean that Ohio State's not going to be an NCAA tournament team? No, absolutely. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm just saying with the data that we have right now, I don't see it. Now, they're going to have to go play North Carolina, who sits at 9-1 right now. They've been much better than I expected. I was, at least on this show, famously low on them. They picked up a win over Kansas early in the year, which you can say what you want about that game. They lost to Michigan State. They beat Kentucky, which, again, you can say what you want about that game. They crushed Georgetown as well. So this is going to be a real test for Ohio State and a chance to pick up a marquee non-conference win. So my tune could completely change after one game. But right now, I don't think the results have been impressive enough to say Ohio State is an NCAA tournament team. Sure, they don't have the bad, ugly losses that some other teams have on their resume right now, but we have enough data to say if you just strip the Ohio State logo and you throw a Northwestern logo on Ohio State or a Virginia Tech logo on Ohio State or a Seton Hall logo on Ohio State, if you just strip all of the Blockos and the scarlet and gray from Ohio State and you put this team in some middling program's colors, I don't think that we're saying that Ohio State is in a great spot. That's just my opinion, and it's discouraging, and I hate to end the show on this note, but that's how I feel. That's where I think Ohio State is right now. Even with the win, as fun as it is, as maybe impressive as it is for Ohio State sticking it out through 2 overtimes, they've got some work to do right now. They definitely have some work to do. But Ohio State, through 10 games, is now sitting in a spot where I think a lot of people would say, yeah, we're pretty happy at 8-2. And I think if they somehow pick up a win over North Carolina and they move to 9-2 and then 10-2 and you get into January and you're sitting at 10-2, I don't think people are upset. I don't think people are complaining. You look at as well how this Big Ten conference schedule is going to play out for Ohio State in January. They're going to have the opportunity to stack some wins here. That's the time to really take advantage. So we'll see what Ohio State does. As for now, the Buckeyes win. We can go to bed happy. It's past midnight. I've got to go to bed. You do too. You need to take care of yourself. All right. You got to get some sleep as well, just as much as I do. So we'll be back. We're going to have a little bit of a layoff here. Ohio State won't play again until this upcoming Saturday, the CBS Sports Classic against North Carolina at 3:00. So I might put together a show sometime midweek before we get to a preview on North Carolina. I see a question in the chat here from Aaron. Did I have Ohio State at 8-2 at this point? I had Ohio State losing to Notre Dame, and then I think I had them beating West Virginia and Pitt. Definitely had them beating Pitt, so I think I had them at 9-1 at this point, and then I had them losing, beating North Carolina, which I may be wrong there. So I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. They were somewhere around here. So, but overall, Ohio State has a chance to stack some wins here and really improve the resume. And this could be a springboard game for Ohio State. That's one other thing that needs to be said. They get a whole week off before they go play a huge game against North Carolina. Bruce Thornton will be looking at him playing in Atlanta, of course, playing close to home. This could be a springboard game for Ohio State. So it could be really, really exciting for Ohio State. Aaron, I don't think I had Ohio State beating Illinois. I could be wrong. I'd have to go back and look. Sorry. Alrighty. I appreciate you guys being here a bunch. You guys have no idea how much I appreciate your support. I get inundated with messages on Twitter and on Instagram all the time, and I can't keep up. And I see a bunch of people requesting to DM me and all this stuff. And I appreciate all of that a bunch. I appreciate that you sit here past midnight and watch some guy sit on the floor of his basement and talk Ohio State hoops because his Wi-Fi sucks. Just go in the basement, not be in his normal spot upstairs. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here. If you made it all the way through and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe on YouTube. I would appreciate that a bunch. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and I would definitely appreciate a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast as well, because we cannot let the Nut House win. Buckeyes win this game 89-88. They improved to 8-2. It's a big one for Ohio State. Praying for safe travels for Ohio State as they head back home to Columbus in this snow tonight. Hopefully it's not too bad for them. Thank you for watching today's show. Appreciate it a bunch. Until next time, I shut up before you shut me off. Go Bucks.